Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the MeanGene Show. We are once again live streaming here on Podbeanlive.com. It is a Wednesday, March 16th, 2022. And I told you I would be back again for another show. Going to get you caught up on everything that took place in the NBA action from Tuesday night's games. And would you believe it? Another 60-point performance. I tell you who uh, put up those numbers last night in the NBA, as well as other scores and highlights from the hardwood. We're also going to look at the NCAA first four in. We had two games last night. I will have some updates on that, as well as NIT action last night that took place. So it's going to be a great show. Also, now, yesterday, I didn't get a chance to talk about this, but I am keeping my eye on everything that's going on in the NFL, because if you listen to my shows during the NFL season, you know it's all about the NFL. I bring you weekly updates from the NFL, as well as a countdown show that I do, me and Dustin Pfeiffer, and it's just great stuff. So I tell you what, it's going to be a great show, and I need you to stick around and listen to. You know what? We're also going to do. Me and Dustin Pfeiffer. We're going to do our NCAA tournament March Madness brackets. Now we haven't done that show yet. That show is going to be on iHeartRadio, but we're going to do it. We're going to get it done. I have 4 brackets that I have already completed. Now, the question is which one I'm going to share with Dustin, because that is probably going to be my official bracket, because, I'm playing around with a couple of brackets, and I'm also, looking at one that's going to be hopefully my bread and butter. Traditionally, I have finished in the very high 85 plus percent on at least one of my brackets in the tournament. And you know how these tournaments go, right? If soon as your final 4 picks are eliminated, your brackets are busted. So hopefully, and that's what I'm trying to prevent. I'm trying my best not to have a bracket buster so early in the tournament. So anyway, that show is going to be coming up. So I will definitely let you know when that's going to happen. You don't want to miss out March Madness bracket show, which is going to happen today. And that podcast will be up and running. Like I said, we're going to do it for iHeartRadio. But right now, we're streaming live here on Podbean, and we have a lot of stuff to talk about. So why don't we just go ahead and get started and take it to the hardwood? Let's just look at games. On yesterday's show, we talked about the standings. We talked about exactly what teams needed to do in order to be in position for the NBA playoffs, which is going to start in April, as it always does. But we also talked about, I gave you the top 8 teams in each division, the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. And I also gave you those play-in teams that are in the 9th and 10th spot who, as you know, they have an opportunity to make the playoffs. And, whether you like it or not, that play-in tournament that the NBA does. So, all right, let's go ahead and take it to the hardwood. Last night, the Memphis Grizzlies, they defeated the Indiana Pacers by a score of 135-102. Now, this was very interesting because there was no Ja Morant in this game. Okay, they rolled over the Pacers 134-102 without Ja Morant. And you want to know who stepped up? Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane stepped up, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. And for the Indiana Pacers, it was Jalen Smith, 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists. So you want to know how it was done? Mainly, if you look at the box scores, which I do in these games, I'm at 135 points here. And one thing I would tell you is that the Memphis Grizzlies, at one point in time during that game, they led by 43 points. Okay, and the earliest that the Pacers had any lead, it was by 1 point early in the game. But man, you just could not. If you really looked at this score, if you didn't see the game, you just figured, okay, what did Ja Morant do last night for the Memphis Grizzlies? He didn't do anything. I mean, it was a team effort in this team, and I told you about this team. This team is very dangerous. They are currently the second seed in the Western Conference. They got a record of 48-22 now. Pacers, unfortunately, 23-47. They are the 13th seed. It doesn't look like they are going to be any threat in the playoffs. And Jaren Jackson Jr. also contributed. He had 19 points for the Memphis Grizzlies, a very, very scary team. They shot 42 percent. Actually, I'm sorry. They shot 51% from the field and 37%. Now, you are going to really freak out on some of the 3-point shots that took place in the NBA last night. This is just one game here. But if you look at the box scores, which like I said, I really pay attention to these box scores. The Memphis Grizzlies, they shot 51% from the field, 37% from the arc, the 3-point line, and 60% from the free throw line. And you're wondering, how the hell did they win this game, right? Okay, so they were 15 for 40 on 3-pointers. 15 for 40 on 3-pointers. Now, that is not as bad as what the Pacers were. The Pacers, 6 for 30. And could you imagine sitting in the stands of an NBA game and watching? So we're talking about 73 pointers, and only 21 of them were made. And that's from both teams. That's from the Pacers and the Grizzlies. 73 pointers put up last night, and only 21 were made from both teams. And from the free throw line, the Pacers shot 73%. Unreal. Now, points in the paint is where made a big difference for the Grizzlies. They had 72 points in the paint compared to the Pacers 54. Just unreal. And then assists, 38 assists to 23. So and so those were the reasons why they really got that game won. But man, horrible. And it's going to get worse here as I go on here because whew, free throw. You talk about the NBA team, 12 or 20. Normally, in games, man, you shoot 60% from the foul line, you don't win. And the Pacers were 14 of 19 from the foul line. You would think like, okay. But man, what a tough game. But anyway, the Grizzlies got the win last night. And I'm going to hold this next score. We're going to save that one for last. The Brooklyn Nets Magic game because we got to talk about that one. So let's look at the Pistons and the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat won 105-98. And I told you yesterday that they would win. Now, I think the point spread on this game was like 13. So Detroit nearly got the win because Max Strus played, which he normally doesn't play. The Pistons with a record of 18-51. They are, believe it or not, they're not dead last in the East, but they should be, right? 18-51. And the Miami Heat, they are maintaining that lead in the Eastern Conference, 46-24. Last night, let's see who got it done. Now for the Pistons, Jeremy Grant, 22 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, and Tyler Hero. He was the hero last night for the Miami Heat. 29 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. With a name like Hero, you almost you have to be good, right? You cannot have a name like that and not be good. There's no way. So we talked about box scores, and this game, it wasn't any better. 3 points. The Miami Heat shot 36% from the 3-point line. They were 12 of 33. The Detroit Pistons were 10 of 34, so they shot 29%. So I know it's a 3-point shooting league, but damn, you got to make these. Now, in the course of an NBA game, the game moves so fast, you really don't see, it's not like they're putting these things up back to back to back to back to back and clank, 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 clank. Throughout 4 quarters, 4 12-minute quarters, you're seeing this. But man, something's got to give. It's just poor shooting. I don't know if I can sit there and take that. I don't know. But anyway, one reason why the Pistons lost this game is they only shot 63% from the free throw line, 14 of 22. Miami was 35 of 39, and that was clearly a big difference in this game. Points in the paint. Jeremy Grant, like I said, he's a big time guy. And I think he's the son of either Harvey Grant or Horace Grant. I think it's Harvey. And then you remember his uncle and his father both played in the NBA. But Jeremy Grant, great player. So they did, even with a Bam Adebayo, you would think that the Miami Heat would have dominated the paint. But no, it was the Pistons that actually dominated the paint. That, but rebounds, of course, the edge went to the Miami Heat. And also turnovers, I would believe. There was quite a few turnovers there. As a matter of fact, points off turnovers is something that you have to look at too in Miami with the good shooters that they have with Hero and Duncan Robinson and those guys. They were able to capitalize on that as well. So that was that game, and that game was played down there at the American Airlines. Well, it's not the American Airlines; it's the FTX Arena in Miami. So Miami Heat still getting it done, man. I'm just waiting for the Brooklyn Nets. Well, they so far down there, but I'm waiting for the 76ers and the Milwaukee Bucks to somehow come up and take that lead in the Eastern Conference, but Miami is not giving it up easy. Okay, another NBA game last night. How about this? The Phoenix Suns over the New Orleans Pelicans, 131-115. And oh boy, I tell you, Chris Paul, man, he's got to be just loving it. He's not having to be on the court, nursing that injury. And Devin Booker is getting it done. He scored 27 points in 30 minutes. And I thought this would be, I don't know what my expectations were for this game, because the Pelicans are just not, all eyes are on Zion Williamson. And when is this kid going to get on the court and play basketball for the Pelicans? I don't know when it's going to happen. CJ McCollum, who was acquired in that trade at the NBA trade deadline, he reached out to Zion and just trying to break the ice and see what's going on. Zion, it's just, man, that Pelicans team really looked good at one time, and high hopes for that team. But Devin Booker, like I said, 27 points last night in 30 minutes of play, and CJ McCollum led all scores for the Pelicans with 21 points and 5 rebounds, 9 assists in that game. So the tail of the tape there, points in the paint again. The Suns, 56 points in the paint. That was huge. But let's look at these 3-point shots here, because I would think that the Suns, not bad. Now here's a team that actually did pretty damn good with the threes. They were 18 of 34, which means 52%. Now that's probably where you want to be if you're going to be shooting a lot of threes, and that's exactly what they were doing. And how about this at the foul line? 100%. They were 15 of 15 from the foul line. And man, this is how you win game. 50, and they shot 54% from the field last night. 49 of 90 shots went in, and that's the Phoenix Suns. That's the team that everyone is going to have to contend with in the Western Conference. And these box scores for the Suns are pretty much like this on a regular basis. Now, at one time, they led, the biggest lead in that game was 23 points. So it was just, and believe it or not, the Pelicans had a 9-point lead early on in that game. But the Phoenix Suns, man, they just kept coming on. Monty Williams, and, that team is really, really good. And they are doing it without Chris Paul. And just imagine when they get their floor general back on the floor, which will be probably just in time for the NBA playoffs. They're going to be unstoppable. They're going to be great. And remember, they made the NBA Finals last year, and they look like they are on the course to do it again. There's a couple of teams that might get their way in the Western Conference. We'll be talking about that, and it's probably going to be the Golden State Warriors, maybe, and a few other teams there. But right now, I don't know who's going to stop the Phoenix Suns, because they are just having a ball. And like I said, they got the win last night, 131-115. Okay, all right, so I cannot hold it anymore. This is the game that we're going to talk about. Just one night after Karl Anthony Towns put up 60 points, and we thought we would probably be talking about this for the rest of the week and his performance and this, that, and the other and all of that. Well, I tell you what, Kyrie Irving says not so fast. He scores a career best 60 points as the Nets routed the Orlando Magic 150-108. Kyrie Irving now. So this is the guy that does not play home games in Brooklyn because of the private employer vaccine mandate that is in the city of New York. Okay, so believe it or not, now he's allowed to enter the gym, the arena, and without a mask, of course, and sit on the bench with the team, but he cannot play, which is probably the dumbest thing any of us have heard or seen when we watching the games, because we see him clearly on the bench, you know, being a cheerleader and supporting his team, but he's not playing and he's not hurt. So it's just crazy. But so you got to think that he is all psyched up. And Kevin Durant actually helped out when he addressed the media the other day after the Nets game, and he called out the mayor, the new mayor of New York, which did not have anything to do with this mandate. That rule was implemented by the previous mayor. So, but it's still stupid. I don't understand why they just won't change it. Everyone is lifting certain mandates, this, that, and the other, and it's just stupid. And it's so political and all of that stuff, which we don't get into politics on the MeanGene Show, but it's just dumb. But anyway, Kyrie Irving is able to use all of this emotion and aggression, and he takes it out on teams when he does play on the road. And a 60-point performance last night, 60.6 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 1 block over the Orlando Magic. And the Magic is a bad team. They are just horrible. And as a matter of fact, they are the last place team, not the Detroit Pistons. The Orlando Magic is the last place team in the Eastern Conference with a record of 18-52. It's just horrible. So now the Nets improved to 36-33. They remain in that 8th spot because teams above them continue to win. So they're not gaining any ground in the conference, but they will. And they will as soon as Ben Simmons get out there on the court. And that still is a big question. When will Ben Simmons get on the floor? You know, we only got to see, 15 or 16 games where Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Durant played. And all of that hype about that team when it was put together, we never got to see that. With just a couple of weeks left in the NBA season, if they're going to get Ben Simmons out there, they need to get him out there now. And we need to see what this team is going to look like, because the chemistry needs to be there. And, of course, Kyrie Irving, depending on what happens in New York, you know, the Nets are at a big disadvantage there. So they're going to stay right there at that 8th seed. Now, I got them moving up to the 6th spot, which I believe is going to help them a lot. It's going to get them out of that play-in tournament, because right now they're in that play-in tournament, and they don't want to face the Atlanta Hawks or the Charlotte Hornets, which, you know, is capable of beating them. And, you know, you just don't want to see that. So, but anyway, a big-time game last night. Now, let's look at some of the box scores there. Now, you talk about a hot night. So Kyrie Irving had a lot to do with the 60% of their shots going in last night. So they were 53 of 88 from the field. That is just remarkable. And I can guarantee you that Kyrie Irving had a whole lot to do with that, because he was just dropping shots left and right. And they shot 59% from the three-point line. Now, that is improvement. That's pretty damn good. Everything was going in. 16 of 27 three-pointers went in. That's pretty good. And they were 82% from the foul line. And you just can't beat that. Now, you want to know why the Magic got beat so bad? Well, they only shot 37% all night. You're just not going to win. You're going to get blown out every time. If you're only able to put up 36 shots out of 95 went in for a measly 37%, that's going to get you blown out every time. And not to mention, turnovers. Well, both teams had 12 turnovers, so that really wasn't that much of a factor. But man, it was just the Kyrie show. 35 assists last night, 48 rebounds. They just outdid everything to beat the Orlando Magic. And man, what a big night. Another 60-point night. So, man, what's going to happen tonight? What is going to happen tonight? That's all I got to say is we got another night of games on the hardwood. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and get you ready for those. The two teams I just talked about right now, they are, I believe, in the 10th and 11th spot, or they might be they're in the 9th and 10th spot in the Eastern Conference of the NBA. They're going to face each other tonight, and that's the Atlanta Hawks and the Charlotte Hornets. Going to be a good game. And I know my man Dustin Pfeiffer, who covers the Charlotte Hornets and the Carolina Panthers, he will be working that game tonight. So it's going to be a must-see game because those are the teams that are going to be in the play-in tournament. They're 9th and 10th right now, and the Brooklyn Nets are just, right there above them. So that's going to be a good one. So it's the Hawks and the Hornets tonight, the 76ers and the Cavaliers tonight. That game is in Cleveland. It's not going to be an easy win for the Cavaliers. I can tell you that right now, especially with the 76ers struggling. And, you got to get James Harden. James Harden started out with the 76ers just playing lights out basketball, and things have slowed down a little bit. So, Doc Rivers, it's on you, man. You're going to have to get this team going. And the Cleveland Cavaliers with Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, they're not going to be easy to beat. Okay, that Cleveland team was in the number 4 spot, and they still in the top 8 there in the Eastern Conference. So they're going to play tonight in Cleveland. The Denver Nuggets will be on the road taking on the Washington Wizards tonight. Portland Trailblazers in the Knicks. That should be a good game, okay? Neither team will make the playoffs, and it's really disappointing in a sense for the New York Knicks fans because they started out really hot. As a matter of fact, they were like a number 2, number 3, maybe 4 spot in the Eastern Conference early in the year. And I don't know what happened. They just have dropped. So I will be in New York next week, me and Mr. Picks, when the Knicks take on the Hawks, which a meaningful game for the Hawks, maybe not so meaningful for the Knicks, but it's always good to catch a game in New York at Madison Square Garden, which is the mecca of basketball, as they say. But anyway, Portland Trailblazers take on the Knicks tonight. And the Phoenix Suns take on the Houston Rockets. Now, I am in Houston, and, the rodeo is in Houston. So I'm choosing to go to the rodeo tonight instead of the Suns and Rockets, because who wants to see the Suns beat the brakes off the Rockets tonight? Now, the only thing I would say about this game tonight is that the Suns are on a back-to-back, which I don't think is going to matter. They just played in New Orleans last night, so it's not like it's a 5-hour drive from Houston to New Orleans. Probably an hour flight, so it's not really going to be that much effort from the Suns needed to beat the Rockets tonight. But you never know. The Rockets beat the Lakers, but that's not saying too much, right? A couple of weeks ago. So that game is going to take place tonight. And speaking of the Lakers, how about this? The Los Angeles Lakers will take on the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. Now, the Minnesota, if you know your Laker history, the Lakers originated from Minnesota. So you basically got the Lakers playing the Lakers, right? The old Lakers playing the new Lakers. But the Minnesota Timberwolves, oh my goodness, they are a 9-point favorite. So Laker fans, I can just tell you right now, before you sit down and make your cocktail and think this is going to be a win, it's not looking good. You're a 9-point underdog with Russell Westbrook, with LeBron James, with what's his name, Dwight Howard. It's just, oh man, you heard my show yesterday. I went off on the Lakers. I'm not even going to waste valuable airtime going off on the Lakers again. But the Minnesota Timberwolves is a team that's going to be good. They have a good team, and they should win tonight. So that's going to be another game to watch tonight. And the Oklahoma City Thunder will take on the Spurs tonight, Chicago Bulls, and the Jazz. That should be a good one. The Jazz need to win. So does the Bulls need to win because the Milwaukee Bucks went in there and stole one from the Jazz the other day at home. And I don't see Utah losing too many games at home, but the Bulls really need to get it together because they are falling down in the Eastern Conference standings. The Milwaukee Bucks continue their West Coast trip there. They will take on the Sacramento Kings tonight. So should be interesting to watch Giannis Antetokounmpo go up against the newly acquired Sabonis there. He plays with the Sacramento Kings. That should be interesting. And another game tonight. A lot of NBA games on tonight, folks. The Boston Celtics, one of the hottest teams in the Eastern Conference, they will take on the Golden State Warriors. Woohoo! You get Tatum, Jason Tatum, and Steph Curry. Now, Steph Curry, 47 points the other night? I guarantee you there's going to be some fireworks in this game tonight, and I think it's probably going to be a late night game on ESPN. If this game ain't on TV, something's wrong. But if you like me, I got the package. I don't miss big-time NBA games, but I think this one is going to be nationally televised. The Boston Celtics, Golden State Warriors, you don't want to miss this one. Jason Tatum, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. This is going to be a hell of a game. And then the last game, it will be the Toronto Raptors and the LA Clippers. Clippers holding on to that 8th spot. The Clippers have the 8th spot, not the Lakers. The Clippers, of course, they would be in the play-in. As a matter of fact, the Lakers could be playing the Clippers for the play-in tournament. Wouldn't that be interesting for the battle of LA? So that is it for the NBA tonight. And as I also promised you, we would go and look at some of the NCAA action that took place. So it's the first 4 in, and 2 teams played last night as part of that first 4, and we are going to talk about those. And the Texas Southern team, they were a 16 seed in that field of 68. So was the Texas A&M Corpus Christi team. So they played last night. Now, I think the Texas Southern team was a 3.5-point favorite to win. They covered that spread. They won 76-67. So now they are in the round of 64. So they will play the Kansas Jayhawks, who is the number 1 seed in the conference. So good luck on that one. I mean, you won the play-in game, first 4 in, right? So you win that game. But man, so you don't get to celebrate much because now you got to get ready for Kansas, and Kansas is not going to be an easy team to beat. I think that spread is already at 20 or 17 or something like that. But hey, celebrate when you can, and they did last night, beating Texas A&M Corpus Christi. And there was also some NIT action. Now, a lot of folks don't really get into the NIT because it's just NIT. And NIT, I like that they play their games a couple of days before the big dance start. And then, there's just a ton of college basketball on this week and for the next couple of weeks. But hey, some of these teams that did not make the NCAA tournament, they made the NIT tournament. They got the invitation. One of those teams is the Vanderbilt. I think they're the Commodores. Vanderbilt Commodores. They're coached by former NBA player Jerry Stackhouse. And they got the win last night. They defeated Belmont. Now, I need to apologize to my listeners because I didn't know where Belmont was. I thought Belmont was in New York, and I say that because I always think about horse racing in the Belmont Stakes. But Belmont is in Tennessee. So Vanderbilt, I know, is in Tennessee because I've visited that campus a few times. So as a matter of fact, they're really close to each other, and I didn't know that. So anyway, so Vanderbilt wins 82-71. Scottie Pippen Jr., not much of a factor in that game, but they got the win, 81-72. Another NIT tournament round of 32 game last night was the Oklahoma Sooners. They are your number 1 seed in the NIT. They actually defeated Missouri State 89-72. And other NIT tournament action last night, it was VCU over Princeton 90-79. And North Texas defeated Texas State 67-63. 63 in overtime. They needed overtime to get that done in NIT action. And of course, there was the final NIT game last night was Xavier. Xavier, a team that really should have made the NCAA tournament. Xavier played some great basketball throughout the year, but man, in the NCAA tournament committee, they look for that consistency. They look where, you were ranked at one particular time and then you fell off. And they look at, well, Xavier fell off, and so many great teams in college basketball this year, but Xavier, a number 2 seed in the NIT tournament, they won 72-68. I look for Xavier to really get maybe Xavier and Vanderbilt to get to that NIT championship game, but we'll see. But anyway, they won that game last night. And the final, let's see, because I know we had another NC2A first 4 in, and yes, we did. 2 number 12 seeds played last night. Indiana defeated Wyoming by a score of 66-58, and now they will advance to the NC2A tournament there. And I need to see who they're going to play, because I got my brackets up here now. Like I said, I got 4 different brackets, and there's a reason for that, because there's a bracket that I'm just probably going with my favorite team to win the tournament. And then there's, a bracket where me and Dustin Pfeiffer, we're going to discuss our brackets on the MeanGene Show on iHeartRadio later today. That's probably going to be a more serious bracket, and I haven't completed that bracket actually yet, because I this is one that I got to get right. But now the bracket I'm looking at right now, I have Arkansas and Auburn in the championship game. Okay, I'm a big time, Arkansas Razorback fan. I am originally from Arkansas, but not only that, they have 4 seeds, so it's not that far fetched. And then of course, Auburn is a number 2 seed. And you may have noticed both of these teams are from the Southeast Conference. And that's, they are really good. Auburn was number 1 for a couple of weeks this year, and rightfully so. They deserve that. So anyway, that is that. So Indiana is going to play St. Mary's. Now, St. Mary's is in the West Coast Conference out there with Gonzaga and all of those guys. So, and that's a 5 seed. So that 12 seed Indiana, because they defeated Wyoming last night, they get a date with St. Mary's. Now in this particular bracket, I have Indiana beating St. Mary's, which would somewhat be an upset, because the 12-5, those 12-5 matchups in the NC2A tournament, they have a higher percentage of victories than your 13-4 seeds, and definitely than your 15-2 seeds. And of course, we all know it only one time where a number 1 seed has lost, and that was just a few years ago. I don't see that happening again, especially with the number 1 seeds in this tournament, which is Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas, and Baylor. Now, Baylor won it all last year, and they are probably on a course to get back there again. So now that is your NCAA action from last night. So I know there will be more action tonight. So let's just go ahead and look at some of those. First 4, 2 more first 4 action tonight. 2 number 16 seeds will play for the right to face a number 1 seed later this week. So you got Bryant. Bryant is a 16 seed, and Wright State. They will play tonight to advance to the big dance of 64. And let's see if they win, who will they face? They're probably going to face somebody that is going to beat them by 20 or 30 points. Yeah. Okay. The winner of this game faces Arizona. So good luck, guys. Okay. That's all I can say. Wright State is a favorite by 3.5 points, which it was 2 points. So, man, it's going up. So it looked like Wright State is going to win tonight, but we'll see. But anyway, whoever wins, they get to face Arizona, and that's not going to be any fun. In the NIT, you got Dayton playing Toledo tonight. Another NIT action, you got Mississippi State playing Virginia. Towson playing Wake Forest. Wake Forest is another team that probably should have made the NCAA tournament, but they didn't. Nichols is playing SMU. Man, SMU did not make the round of 64, but they're in the NIT, and I think, and they are 15 and a half favorite tonight in their NIT matchup. Northern Iowa faces St. Louis. Iona, Florida. Florida's another team that almost made the final, the 64, the round of 64. You got Long Beach State, BYU, and the last first four NCAA tournament game tonight. You got two number 11 seeds going at each other. Notre Dame and Rutgers, man, and this is a tough one for me because I like both of these schools. Notre Dame basketball, of course, they're really known for football. I think Rutgers is going to win this game. And Notre Dame is a favorite by 1 point, but whoever wins this game at that 11th seed will play number 6 seeded Alabama. So that is going to be, and that's beatable. Whoever wins this game could beat Alabama. Now, a lot of teams from the SEC made the March Madness tournament, but 11-6 seed, that's not much of an upset either in the NCAA tournament. So anyway, so just keep an eye on that. That is going to be your action tonight for college basketball. So I think we just about covered everything here on the show, guys. Well, no, we didn't. We did not cover everything. What am I talking about here? I told you we would talk about NFL free agency, and we really need to talk about it because Dallas Cowboy fans, let's talk about what happened with Randy Gregory here. And shocker. So I would give you some updates here on some free agency signings and all of that. But we're going to start with the Dallas Cowboys because Randy Gregory had originally agreed to 5 years, $70 million. I think it was $28 million signing bonus to play for the Dallas Cowboys. He had a great season. Now, Randy Gregory, I was at the draft in Chicago when Randy Gregory was selected. And when Randy Gregory was selected, there was always question marks. Now, the one thing I don't like about the NFL draft, which I will be attending in Las Vegas next month, I don't like a lot of the coverage that the networks do, especially when they get really personal with the guys. Now, I know this information is needed, and it's important. If you got a player out there that has been involved in this, that, and the other, off the field issues, whether it's drugs or domestic violence or some kind of crime, that stuff comes up. And it's unfortunate. And I know as a GM that's getting ready to pay tons of money to these players, that's something that they need. But I guess, the media coverage of it is sometimes not that great. I tend to not talk about it as much because I tend to say, okay, well, everyone deserves second chances and, people make mistakes. And sometimes we just don't know the full story when it comes to why these things happen to people. I think folks that are just consistently in trouble and are doing bad things, well, they're not playing. They're not in the league. They're not playing professional sports. But Randy Gregory was one of those guys that, like to smoke the weed. And right now, that's just not a big thing anymore, and depending on, and now the joke is the fact that now Randy Gregory has been popped a couple of times with the Dallas Cowboys. He's been suspended for substance abuse. I don't know what substance, but, this was one of the things that people said about him coming out of college and it would be a problem. And it turned out to be a problem. But, smoking weed is not a problem. It's a minor problem. I don't smoke weed. I'm just saying, I don't have a problem with people that smoke weed. And because now it's legalized in certain states, and it just happened to be legalized in the state of Colorado, where he's going to play for the Denver Broncos. Go figure, right? So, but anyway, so he just turned on the Dallas Cowboys. He just said, I am not going to take that contract. And I know, and man, he's had a great, last year he played 11 games, had 6.5, maybe 7 sacks, something like that. And man, I just know that they were looking forward to having him back. So according to my sources, there were some language in that contract that he just didn't like. And it probably, had a lot of incentives, because one thing you don't know about them contracts, man, they sound good. 70 million, 28 million guaranteed, blah, blah, blah. But there are a lot of things in there that you have to do to get that full, to get your full money there. And maybe one of those things for Randy Gregory was, hey, you got to play all 17 games, or you got to, you can't, fail a drug test. You can't, so I don't know. Anyway, but he changed his mind, and he's going to Denver. He's going to play with Russell Wilson. Maybe that's another thing he wanted to do. Maybe he wanted to play with Russell Wilson. So Randy Gregory agrees to 5 years, $70 million with the Denver Broncos. Let's see, another one. Now, Carlton Davis, cornerback with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he re-signed. So Tampa definitely wants to keep their players intact. And, of course, if you missed it, if you was not on the planet Earth in the last couple of days, Tom Brady decided it was all a dream. He just, what are you guys talking about? I didn't retire. So he reports are saying that the media pressured him and it leaked out, and and we're not buying that, because at any point in time, Tom Brady could say, you know what? No, I don't know where these false reports are coming from. I did not say I was going to retire or walk away from football. I think, and I agree with some of my other colleagues in the media, that Tom Brady was trying to see what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to do, re-signing some of these players, bringing on some additional players, because as you know, Antonio Brown, that scenario, he wasn't going to have him, and Chris Godwin, of course, with that injury. I think Tom Brady wanted to step away and see what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to do as far as improving that team. And I think he spent that time with his family and did what he needed to do. And he didn't miss anything, because there hasn't been any football or anything going on. So he hasn't missed anything. So I do believe that he never intended to fully retire. But anyway, so he's coming back, and now teams in the NFC South are having to make adjustments. Just imagine, some of these teams are changing their free agency picks, or maybe even their draft picks, based on Tom Brady's decision to come back now, especially those teams that play in their division and in their conference. J.C. Jackson, cornerback, he played with the Patriots last year. Now he's with the Chargers, agreed to 5 years, $82.5 million. So that's somebody that's going to be changing. And the safety for the Saints, Marcus Williams, he agrees to a 5 year, $70 million deal. Look like he's going to the Baltimore Ravens. And let's see, I'm just trying. Christian Kirk. Now, this is one that's very interesting, because Christian Kirk, I'm not sure what happened there with the Arizona Cardinals, and Kyler Murray hit him a lot in some very pressure situations there, especially when they lost their top wide receiver there in Arizona. So Christian Kirk now, he leaves the Arizona Cardinals, agrees to a 4-year contract, $72 million, to play with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I don't really get that one. That's a team that's not really winning a lot of games. So go figure. So it must be about the money. Maybe it's the money. I don't know. Maybe the Cardinals didn't, because they got Hopkins. Hopkins, of course, is going to demand top money there. But I'm surprised that the Cardinals let Christian Kirk go, and I'm surprised that Christian Kirk went to a team that just is not going to go anywhere anytime soon, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that's for the most part. And James Daniels, offensive guard, used to play with the Bears. Now he is a Pittsburgh Steelers, 3 years, $26.5 million deal there. Quadri Diggs stays with the Seattle Seahawks. He re-signed 3 years, $40 million. And so that's basically it. We don't really have, there's a couple of other free agents out there that we don't know where they're going to go. And they are, they're Von Miller, big name. Von Miller is there are reports that Von Miller could end up with the Dallas Cowboys. He is from Texas. He did go to school at Texas A&M, which is about 45 minutes from me. So that's going to be interesting to see what he does. So he's out there. Other big names out there is a wide receiver, Allen Robinson for the Chicago Bears. He's a free agent, so the Bears haven't signed him, and he's floating around out there. Stephon Gilmore, cornerback, he's out there with the Carolina Panthers. No one has picked him up. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, um, he's a free agent with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I would think that the Chiefs would sign him, and they just might be waiting to see what's going to happen. Bobby Wagner, linebacker with the Seattle Seahawks last year, he's out there. Reports are that the Cowboys are looking at him, and Jadeveon Clowney, he's out there. And so there's some big names out there. Believe it or not, Rob Gronkowski, free agent. Now we all know where Rob. It would just be really shocking if Rob Gronkowski went and played somewhere else, knowing damn well Tom Brady was in Tampa, right? We can almost see that. Odell Beckham Jr. coming off his Super Bowl championship with the Rams. He's a free agent, and it's going to be interesting to see what the Rams are going to do with him. So so there's quite a few of them out there, and quarterbacks, Jameis Winston, he's coming off that horrible injury last year with the Saints. Saints, of course, are looking at Deshaun Watson. So this is going to be interesting. The Deshaun Watson situation is going to really trigger a lot of different moves in the NBA. I mean, I'm sorry, in the NFL. So I don't know. And you know what? I just got on here. So Mr. A, I'm looking at your comments here. So Von Miller, yeah, he is a big threat. He is still a big threat. Although I can't believe Denver let him get away, he is still a big threat. And I'm shocked that the Rams are really letting him, or willing to let him get away, knowing that, man, you got especially if Aaron Donald retires, which it doesn't look like he's going to, so he's going to come back. So why would the Rams not just go ahead and sign Von Miller and be done with this? But I think it's a dog and pony show in the sense of, okay, someone's going to dangle that carrot, and at the end of that carrot, there's a lot of money, and who's going to do it? I don't know if the Cowboys are going to do it. They just tend to be stingy with money. They're probably going to give more money to their homegrown guys in Dallas. So I don't know what Von Miller is really looking for. Now he's got 2 Super Bowls. So he can really call his own shot. So he could say, well, I want to go back home and play in Texas, and end my career. So like I say, he's got 2 Super Bowls. So I don't know. I don't know what Von Miller's trying to do. But yeah, he is still a big threat. I do agree with you there. And that's interesting. So, okay, okay, Mr. A, you say you could use him in Cincinnati. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure the Bengals definitely could use him there. That's no doubt. And I don't know. And I'm looking at free agency stuff here with the Cincinnati Bengals, and I don't see any major signings yet. I don't know if they had a lot of free agents out there yet, but anyway, yeah, I agree with you on that. Oh, and I want to thank all the guys that are in the chat room here on Podbean Live, which is, I need to pay more attention to that, because this is one of the things I like about this platform here is they allow you to kind of interact with your listeners, which is great stuff. So, well, I am about to wrap up this show. Like I said, I got to get ready for an iHeartRadio show with Dustin Pfeiffer. Dustin Pfeiffer covers the Carolina Panthers and the Charlotte Hornets for Bally Sports Southeast. We do a regular show on KDWN 720 AM in Las Vegas, 101.5 FM in Las Vegas. We do that show throughout the NFL season. So during the downtime, I made a commitment to get back here and do these live shows because they are fun, and I miss being able to give you guys information. I know I can be, long-winded here, but I mean, that's what it, takes to kind of host these shows here. But I certainly like having my co-hosts on, and then we go back and forth. So if you want to grab your brackets, and if you haven't completed your brackets, you want to listen to me and Dustin Pfeiffer and see who we're going to have winning the NCAA championship. The Final Four is going to be in New Orleans. I thought about going this year, but I went to that Final Four in New Orleans a couple of years ago. I have attended 4 Final Fours. Not to say that they don't mean anything, but sometimes I'm thinking about catching the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8, which is going to be in San Antonio, and I believe that's going to be the Midwest region, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. It could be let's see, I think it could be the South region. I don't know. They always mix these regions up, but I know that I'm going to San Antonio later in the week, later in the month, I'm sorry, to see the Elite 8 in the Sweet 16. Now, last year, because I'm fair, I went to the women's Sweet 16, and it was in San Antonio. San Antonio is just a fun place to go, not to mention it's only 2.5 hours from me. Not bad. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Next week, the MeanGene Show, this particular show that you listen to right here on Podbeanlive, I will be doing a show next Wednesday from New York City. Me and Mr. Picks, Jeff Lambert Sr., he is a sports betting expert. We are going to take it to New York, going to promote the MeanGene Show on Podbean Live and iHeartRadio. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also looking forward to watching the New York Knicks versus the Atlanta Hawks. That's going to be an exciting game, something to do there in the Big Apple. But anyway, so this is going to wrap it up, guys, for this show. So I need you to follow me on Twitter at Sports Kings. Make sure you can check out the MeanGeneShow.com, our website there. And, of course, I'll be back here tomorrow to talk about the games that took place tonight and more free agency stuff that's going to be happening and more bracket stuff and all that good stuff. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up here on Podbean Live. Tune in tomorrow for more March Madness, more NBA, NFL, and any other breaking sports news that's happening. We're going to talk about it right here on the MeanGene Show. Enjoy the rest of your day.